Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dean Rogers Show. We've got Bryan Chavis on today. Can't wait to dive into this, Mr. Buy, Rent It, and Profit. What's up, Bryan?
Man, how you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm excited to dive into your
Good.
story. We talked a little bit at a mastermind, and former athlete. You've got the real estate going on. You've got two loves in my life: real estate and sports, as your background, and you're a cool dude. So I'm excited to dive into your story, talk all about that, and then drop some gems for the listeners. For those that don't know Bryan, he's got one of the best-selling books out there: Buy It, Rent It, and Profit. And crazy. I'm reading this right now, and I like trying to wrap my head around this. You have this as a rental property book in the U.S. Library of Congress,
Yeah,
and to
believe it.
me, we're
Yeah.
gonna we're gonna talk about that. Pretty wild. It must have some good stuff in there, and I got to figure out how you made that happen. So, you guys tell people where they can connect with you online. What's the best place there?
Oh yeah, that's a good question because I just got changed my Instagram handle. We're gonna be
Remember.
switching it up and doing content. So I think it's Brian M. Chavis. Brian M. My middle name. So Mitchell Brian M. Chavis is how you can find me. And if right now Brian dot Chavis, if you find me there, man, on Instagram or Facebook,
Yeah.
the team will make sure they point you to where I'm at right now. But yeah, buyitrented.profit.com, brpedu.com, you'll find me.
There we go. Awesome. Well, dude, let's dive in. Let's talk about your background with sports and what led you to real estate. But let's first start with the sports side.
Yeah, so basketball was obviously my kind of my way out. I never stuck in the league. But I credit basketball to allowing me to travel the world, see things, understand business, and ultimately wind up where I am. So I just, I owe a lot to the game. A lot of people say they owe a lot to the game in respects to actually making it, signing an NBA contract, like our buddy Chucky, 14 years in the league. He's a veteran. But for me, it was, I think God had intended for me to just get out of the neighborhood that I was in and see the world. And that was the biggest experience that I had, was being able to see different cultures and experience, so I was everywhere from China to Japan, to Madrid to, all over Europe. So it just allowed me to see so much, that it just allowed me to open and expand, my mind from just being a narrow point of view from coming out of the public school system, special education. It was, it didn't bode well for me. So yeah, I owe basketball a lot, but that was just the start. But yeah, it definitely allowed me to kind of do what I'm doing today.
Yeah, that's a cool experience. I mean, to be able to see all certain different parts of the world and the culture start that's a part that most people never get to experience. And to be able
Correct.
to do that while playing a sport you love, like that's a pretty darn cool thing right there.
It is.
Um,
It's a blessing.
yeah.
True blessing.
So what about that experience led you to think about real estate, or were you even thinking about real
Oh,
estate
nah.
during that time?
I had no clue. Real estate was the furthest thing from my mind. So when I was done, things, when the phone stops ringing, uh, you have to make some decisions. A lot of the decisions that were made for me were made not by me, but they were made because some things happened. I
Yeah.
end up coming back home. My pops was like, "Listen, man, you got to get a job. You can't stay here and just wait for that phone to ring. So if that phone doesn't ring, you need to get a job." So I had no other skills, man. So I went to the 7-Eleven and I got one of these books, apartment books. And
I
back
had it at
then you had
7-Eleven, huh?
yeah, dude, they didn't have apartments.com back then. No internet. So it was these books that you got, these little thick books, had all the apartments in there, their fax machine, their phone number.
Hmm.
So I had no resume. So I called one of my friends and what's a resume? He's like, "Oh, this is what a resume is." And so I lied from the only thing I I was truthful on the resume was my name, right? So I just lied about the experience, lied, this I'm a leasing, I have experience in sales, blah, blah, blah. So then I go to the business office in our community in the city, start faxing my resume off to all these apartments, and then phone started ringing, and I put on my little suit. My car didn't have any AC at the time, so it was a struggle. It was a grind, and this is Florida, so it's 95, 96 degrees, no AC, and I'm just grinding. I'm getting in the car, and I'm trying to, and I try to get into the apartment business because it was the only business that allowed me to live where I worked. And my car, I had to jump it. It was a stick shift. I had to jump it. So the starter was out. It was bad. So I was like, man, if I can get a gig and work where I live, that's the come up. And so
Mm,
that's why I was gravitated towards the apartment business.
that makes
And
sense.
so sure enough, I landed a job and got in the industry, man. And lo and behold, a few people seen some things in me, and I ended up becoming an instructor in the multifamily industry. So I started teaching the CAM courses, certified apartment manager courses. People wouldn't show up for their session, so like the attorney wouldn't show up. So I'm like, oh, $175, I'll teach his session. So I would read at night and all the legal, and then come out and teach the legal part for the course that night, and then or the next day. And then maintenance guy wouldn't show up, so then I would read his material, and then and then I'm teaching it, and then Monday through Friday I'm living it. So it just again, God is works in mysterious ways. It was just all of the combination of doing it 7 days a week, teaching it in the certification courses. It just it molded me to where I am today, to be able to provide such valuable content and create the books and the training materials that I do today, and consult like I do today, because of the grind that I was doing back then.
Mm. So you were getting trained on how to train other people. Is that right?
So I was the trainer for the apartment industry. So I
Right.
was training the other industry leaders. So I would train property managers on how to manage. So when you came to get your cert, because in the multifamily industry, which we can talk about this, it could be a whole different conversation. But there was a time where if you were going to say you were an influencer, before the word influencer came out, you actually had to have credentials. You actually had to have a resume. You actually had
That's
to have,
crazy.
right? Yeah, you had to have certain education and certain certifications. Like, they wouldn't give you a position. You couldn't get hired for a level up position in the multifamily industry without getting your certifications. So education was key. And so yeah, man, so I was teaching those courses and those certification courses. And then when people wouldn't show up to teach their module, I just started mastering all the aspects of the industry. And then I started getting into the higher designations, the asset management designations and things of that nature. So, and then finally I decided to strike off on my own and do what I'm doing today. But yeah, it was a true blessing, man.
Yeah, well, that's interesting. So like you kind of cut your teeth and got started by it didn't sound like you got the position to live on site and live where you worked and do the leasing management and stuff like that. But you ended up finding this gig to be able to train and certify other people, and obviously to be able to even do that, you have to get trained and understand enough. At what point did it
Absolutely.
like? What point did it shift to where you weren't just like by theory learning about it and training others, but like you got the actual experience and
Oh,
learned what
I
that
was
was like?
well, before I could teach the certification course, you actually had to be in the industry for up to 2 years.
Okay.
So yeah, so I was already in the multifamily industry, brother. I was already leasing and
Oh,
being
okay,
a
cool.
man and the acquisition specialist before they ever allow you to even be an instructor.
Mm,
Yeah, I was saying that some people seen some things in me
yeah, yeah.
during that 2 year period of me
Okay.
me being in management and acquisition specialist. Well, you should think about instructing. I'm like, hey, we'll pay you. And I'm like, okay, well, yeah, let's sit down
Yeah,
and have
no,
a
I'm listening.
conversation. So, yeah, I'm listening. And so, but yeah, you had to be in the industry for at least 2 years, and then had to be nominated into that position at the time.
Okay. So that sounded like that was a stepping stone for you. Where did that take you from there?
It That's a great question because in the moment, nowhere. In the moment, it was in the moment. But looking back, it was those are those things. That's why when your listeners are, because someone right now is going through something right now. Someone right now is in a transition. Someone right now is struggling. Someone right now is things are not lining up. Dots are not connecting like they thought they would. But that's the beauty of it, because if you could see where you're going to be 3 years from now, that struggle that you're going through, all this, you may not see it as value, but it is tremendous value to help you go to where to help you level up. So in the moment, it was $175 a module. That's what it was to me. It
Mm.
wasn't one day going to help me become an award-winning consultant, train government agencies, put a book in the U.S. Library of Congress and on every shelf in a bookstore throughout, the United States and globally. That wasn't the intention. So, again, it led me to that. But in the moment, you don't see that. And that's why you have to keep pushing forward. That's why you have to keep doing what it is you're doing. Because you're not supposed to see where it's going in 3 years. That's not your job. Your job is to put one foot in front of the other. Your job is to have faith, and your job is to find what it is. I was doing what I liked. And at the end of the day, man, it worked itself out. There was a lot of trials and tribulations in between, but everybody's going to face those. But at the end of the day, it allowed me to do what I'm doing today.
Yeah. So let's talk about the journey to creating your book. What happened? Did you ever think you were going to create a book, or like what led to that moment?
There were several moments. Um, so what I seen, like what I'm doing now, what I see is a void in the industry. So I started training housing authorities and landlords that participated on Section 8 programs and started speaking at RIAs. And I just noticed that everyone coming from the multifamily space, I was like, no one has systems. No one is operating a business. They have rental property, but they're not operating it like a business. They don't operate it like we do in the multifamily industry. And that was a problem. I'm like, that's crazy. Landlords are buying 10, 15 single family homes, and they're like pulling their hair out because it's frustrating to them. They don't really understand that, it's a business. You got to set up systems and operating systems. And so I wrote a manual, man, and I was selling that manual out of the trunk of my car from RIA to RIA. And then one day I sold it to Gary Sheffield, a professional baseball player. And I'm giving you the Cliff Notes. But so then I started working with him and helping him because A-Rod was buying up a bunch of apartment buildings. And Sheffield was like, hey, I want to get in on that. And then he found out about me. So I started, sowing seeds into Gary and, handing him the manual and saying, hey, look, this is how you operate. This is so you can understand the basics and the fundamentals. And then that book ended up getting into his book agent's hands. He wrote a book called Inside Power, I believe it was called. And his book agent ended up getting my book, my manual. We were driving and somebody called him and he was like, hey, man, talk to this guy real quick. So he puts the phone, hands me the phone, and I'm talking. I'm like, hey, Gary asked me to speak to you for a minute, keep you busy while he's handling some business. And there was this book agent. But who are you and what do you guys do up to? I'm like, oh, I'm just showing him some apartments. We're visiting some sites. He's like, oh, yeah. And then I don't know. He asked me like, "Oh, do you have material? What do you do?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I got a manual, man. So how much do you sell that manual?" I said $250. Why, you want one? And he was like, yeah, send me one. But wait a minute, say that again. You sell it for how much?" I said $250. And he was like, how many do you sell a month? I said, oh, I sell probably about 100, 125 a month. He's like, send it to me. Can you FedEx to me overnight? So I sent it to him overnight. And long story short, man, they flew me out. Simon and Schuster, or not Simon Schuster, Vigliano and Associates, the agent. They flew me out and signed a deal with Simon and Schuster, like the second largest, not the largest publisher in the world. So, that'll be for a different podcast how I wound up negotiating that. But I negotiated that deal by myself without really understanding what royalties were or anything like that. So I went in guns ablaze and blind. There were like 20 attorneys that they had lined up, and it was just me and my agent. He looked like he was fresh out of, high school. He had Similac on his breath. So I'm like, I'm just firing and answering questions and selling myself. And, it must have worked because I ended up signing with Simon & Schuster, and the rest was history.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. So, um, it's funny you say Gary Sheffield too, because I actually do deals with his cousin Alex Sheffield from time to time in my market in California. So how did you end up getting linked up and connected with Gary and A Rod was buying a lot of stuff? How did you get on their radar and connect with them?
Yeah, that was I'm trying to get a little bit more light up. Came onto the back porch. I don't want to look like the haunted mansion over here. But so yeah, so it was just a series of, how athletes, how we all stick together. It was
Yeah,
just through a series of all of us sticking together, and people making giving recommendations, saying, hey, you need to talk to this dude. Is this what you're trying to do? You need to talk to this guy. And so it kind of came about like that.
yeah, that's
So
cool.
yeah, it was a cool blessing. That was another blessing. That was more, like I said, all these things lining up. You don't think they mean anything at the time, and I wasn't getting paid to do it. I was doing it out of the kindness of my heart, and just trying to help someone out, and it leads to a book deal. So, you know, yeah, you just always, it's one of those things, man. It's how it ends up. It's a blessing. Like I said, I know I say that a lot, but if you've gone through what I've gone through and been through what I've been through, you'll realize, you understand where your blessings are coming from and how important it is to recognize those blessings.
Yeah. So what was that process like? So you meet with this company, you guys strike a deal. What was the next steps in that whole process and what unfolded after that? Like what took place after that?
Yeah, it went in the book. Editing book was really already done. I sold them the idea of the manual that I wrote. So when you read the book and see the book, that's why you see why it does so well, because I made a depository of documents and forms. So there's leases in there. There's everything you need to operate your property. So I basically mimicked what I was doing in the multifamily industry and just simplified it, built a system and a framework so people can own and operate single family, multifamily homes. So every section has the single family. This is your single family lease. This is your multifamily lease. So you know, um, every aspect of it tackled, the two major, single family and multifamily, but it tackled it from a standpoint of understanding that this is how you operate each product type. And here are the systems, here are the forms, here are the documents that you need to kind of really get things started. Qualifying criteria, day-to-day operations, procedures, forms, documents, spreadsheets, all that were in this manual, but which ended up becoming the book.
So what was that like so you go through the editing, you get it published. Did it just instantly just go into all the stores because they're a big publisher? Like what was the process and what was your involvement to actually hit shelves?
So it started modest. So they only print, you only print a couple of thousand copies, right? So they test run it. You get your run. It did well, and then they printed more copies. And then it just kind of took off, from there, and they started printing more copies. To this day, it's been sells 150,000 copies a month or something like that. Still,
What?
it yeah it's good God, what it ended up in the U.S. Library of Congress. They reprinted it twice. This is the second time. So so they're always asking me to revise it. So yeah, man, it's but again, when you write procedures manuals, it becomes a staple in the industry. I mean, it's a go-to. It's not theory. I didn't write it. There's nothing really in there. They asked me to throw some theory and some personal stories and stuff to make it more of a book. But brother, I wrote a manual. I'm like, this is how you get it done. And that's kind of how I approach everything. Even with the documentary that I just did, it's a documentary. People are like, oh, buy it, rent it, profit. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna show you how to do it. I'm gonna buy an apartment building. I'm gonna show you how I operate it, and I'm gonna document. And I did that for
That's
three
super
years,
cool.
every day, bro. I documented on my phone for 3 years how to do it, buy it, rent it, profit. Even through COVID, I bought it at 2.6 million, sold it 3 years later for 4.6 through COVID. But I wanted to show people. So, for me, I've never been all about it's been, but let me show you. If I'm giving you something, you're going to be able to use it. If I give you something, if I provide you with something, It's not theory. You're going to be able to implement it. Your sports, we don't believe in theory. We believe in execution.
Yeah.
We leave theory to other folks. It's about executing. We can't have a playbook on theories. We got to have a playbook that's based on executing and knowing how to get things done. And that's kind of how I've always my training and just been about everything I produce content wise. It's always been, that's always been my DNA.
Yeah. Hey, what's up, guys? If you want to learn more about how you can join my community where I'm going to work with you hands on, make sure you click that link down below. Let's go. Well, you casually threw out there a documentary. Tell me the details on that thing. That's something I want to watch.
I documented it. It's just now they just chopped it up into 30 something episodes. But I did the same thing when I was recovering from this brain tumor. It's just certain things, man. It's just something hits me and says you need to, people won't believe it. You need to document it. And so I just documented. People, doctors were saying you wouldn't walk and talk again. And so, I was like, roll the cameras, put the cameras on me and roll it. I'm gonna walk, I'm gonna talk again, and we'll document it. It didn't look like it in the beginning videos because I couldn't hold the toothbrush and brush my teeth or speak or talk. But you look where we are today. And it's the same thing with Buy It, Rent It, Profit. It's like, oh, I want you to know that I'm not just an author. This is what I do. This is how I live. And so, hey, we bought this property. Let's roll camera,
Yeah.
show up day one. And it just started showing up from day one. The very first day during due diligence, it was a 25 unit in downtown St. Pete. It only took me, myself, my contractors, a day to walk each unit. So I just filmed the due diligence process to let people, give people that insight of what that process looked like, what a forensic audit looked like. How do you execute a forensic audit? How do you inspect each unit? How do you negotiate the price? So when you find stuff, how do you negotiate that off of the asking price? How do I get the owner to do the work orders before I close? Like, I wanted people to see that, and that it wasn't just written in that book, but I was executing it. This is how we actually operated. And then the cameras just kept rolling for 3 years every day. And to
That's
the
super
last day
cool.
when I closed, I closed and signed off from the property on the very last day, man, out there. So yeah.
Now, when you bought it, did you already know that you wanted to sell it at the end of the day? Like that was the strategy going in?
Oh yeah, yeah. What property that in a market like that, you of course you always have your strategies, but when in a market like that, I knew that that was a property that somebody should hold on to for life. But where I am in my life and where I was on my comeback, I knew I needed to cash out because I wanted to use the cash to invest in what I'm doing now, which was Buy It, Rent It, Profit education, the platform that I wanted to build. So,
Mm.
yeah, there was an exit for me. Um, you know, uh, and when you're talking about 25 units, 30 units, there should always be an exit. There should always be an exit. Because you want to get to an institutional grade asset. That's when you can really make a lot of mistakes and not really know what you're doing and still survive. That's when you can really weather a lot of storms that most can't when you have that institutional grade asset. But when you have single family rentals and small apartment complexes, you have to be really a master at what you do because the X's and O's mean so much. Because if you miss, if your route, you're not. I'm going to speak in your terms. If you don't hit that route just right, a split second can mean the difference between that ball getting into the defender's hands or, you not, the ball being overthrown or whatever it may be.
Yeah,
The timing
absolutely.
has to be perfect. And so with small single family and smaller apartment buildings, you have to really know what you're doing because you can't hide dead bodies because you don't benefit from the critical mass that you do or the economies of scale that you do in larger assets. That's why it's important when people say, I don't have a problem with single family rentals, but there's a time when you must level up because what you're doing is you're eliminating a lot of risk. A lot of people don't look at it that way, but you're eliminating risk. When you level up, you eliminate the risk by owning more units. But when you have single family homes, their break even ratio, they're awesome and you should start there. But that should never be your end, game. You want to be able to level up because you want to be able to benefit from the economies of scale. And what that means is if you have one single family home and you have a duplex, let's say I have a duplex, you have a single family home, you have a vacant unit. What's your occupancy rate?
Yeah, it's zero.
It's yeah, you're 100%
100%
vacant,
occupant. Yeah, yeah.
right? If I have a duplex and I have one vacancy, what is my occupancy rate?
50%. Yeah.
50%. I just shaved 50% off of my risk by owning one more unit than you. So, that's it's a basic way to explain it, but it gives you an idea as why you want the economies of scale, why you want more units to be able to offset some of the risks that you're going to be taking on and that are certainly going to happen through ownership. You
Hmm.
want the critical mass to be able to help you navigate. It's a way that some of the things that I learned in the multifamily business, it's a way to offset that risk. That's why they look for a certain amount of unit, you know, and that's why you want to eventually scale up from single family into a small apartment into eventually some institutional stuff.
So tell me, when's the right time? You mentioned that there is a right time. When is the right time for someone to transition, right? Because I own many units of single family, duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, and a sixplex, but I don't own multifamily, right? I'm
Right.
I'm at that point where I'm wondering, is it time for me to pivot and buy something bigger? Does that mean that I should be selling my single family 1031 exchanging into something bigger? Like help me understand when is the right time, do you think?
Let me help you. Yeah, we can get this. We can solve these issues right now.
Let's go.
So number one is anybody that says that they can help you solve this in one conversation like this, you need to go the opposite direction. I have no idea how you own these assets. I have no idea whether or not they're free and clear, how levered they are, where they are, what asset type, how many partners you have. Are you a single? Are you family? Or do you have a family? Do you have a blended family? Do you have an ex-wife? All of these dynamics play a major role in whether or not and how you move and how you create corporate entities and how you select. So anyone that says, "Oh, I can tell you," you see these gurus are like, "Oh yeah, you need to go from single family into multifamily, and this is how you do." Without knowing everybody's specific goal and where they are with their portfolio is that should be the first indicator that you should move from that person, because I would not try to give you advice. What I would tell you is when you feel like it's time, there gets to a point where you have so many that the risk, and there's a time where you can scale, and we don't know where that is until I sit with you and ask you some personal questions whether or not we scale, and you might not have the infrastructure to scale right now. So we want to create that infrastructure before you scale. So I'm
Hmm.
not going to just say, "Hey, yeah, Dean, let's jump into multifamily. You should be doing this now. Start selling." You might not need to sell anything. We might want to, we have to, if we do sell, we might want to sell certain, be strategic about what we do and sell certain assets to not sell them all. There's a lot of strategy involved in this. There's no way in the world someone should give you advice on the scale up. I'm just telling you, you're going to eventually do it. But when depends upon a lot of variables that we would have to sit down and discuss and talk through.
Yeah. So let's talk about, you said everyone should work their way up to that institutional grade type of asset, right? Class A, I'm assuming a certain
I,
number of units that it should be. Like, walk me through your thought on that.
Yeah, so I'll retract that. I won't say everybody needs to. So there's people, you can live a great life with owning single family portfolio like what you have, a few apartments. I would like to see you diversify a little bit
Yeah.
to offset the risk of the single family homes, right? Never another pandemic, another bad. I want to see you be able to offset certain things, right? So let's put in some multifamily in there. We might even do some mixed use projects, right? But institutional doesn't necessarily have to be where you inspire to be, unless you do inspire to do it. I just want to see you be able to use the benefits of the economies of scale to your favor. That's all I want you to do. Let's not get caught up in institutional and telling people what they should have, how much money they should have. There's one man that can live a tremendous life off $100,000 a year, and another man can make $10 million a year and be totally miserable.
Hmm.
So me putting expectations on you, telling you, "Hey, yo, you need an institutional, you need to do this, you need to do whatever's right for your family and what's comfortable for you." But what I'm saying, with all that being said, I would like to see a mixed bags of, you must have rental. If it's single family, that's fine. I'll show you how to scale up into apartments, but we need to bring a few small apartment, mid-sized apartment buildings in that portfolio, and that's to offset risk and to help drive cash flow and to help also drive God, what do they call this? Not the economies of scale, but to help drive the the something of money, the velocity of money.
There you go.
It
Yeah.
helps with having helps the tax deferrals and all those various different things. So that's why you the risk and the tax deferrals and the ability, the velocity of money to increase more power behind that dollar. Those are the reasons why you eventually scale up. But how much, how to the institutional level, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's what you have to do.
So in your opinion, what's the sweet spot? If you're looking at multifamily, it sounds like that's what you like. What is the sweet spot, ideal type of number of units, location, market, all that kind of stuff?
Good question. It doesn't. There's no such thing as a sweet spot. And I know you see these gurus and they talk to these folks have no clue. They never operated a property a day in their life. Ask them how many times have they leased an apartment? How many times have they managed an asset? These folks are talking from an asset manager or an owner operator point of view. They're not talking from an asset manager or an operator point of view. There is no sweet spot. What there is a prospect tenant demographic and psychographic. The number one thing you got to focus on when you're talking about multifamily or single family rentals, it's called a COTA process. Strategic evaluation of target area. You're studying building permit activity, average household size, average household income, mortgage interest rates, demographics, psychographics. Demographics tell you who they are, Dean. Psychographics tells you the why. You identify the prospect tenant. That's all I'm trying to do. Brick and mortar, Dean, ain't never paid me rent. Who pays me rent?
The people.
Thank you. So why the hell am I worried about buildings and talking about a sweet spot of a building when they don't pay me rent? The people pay me rent. The prospect tenant demographic pays you rent. That is the secret to multifamily. That's what I was taught in the multifamily industry. Brick and mortar don't pay rent. People pay rent. So you focus on the demographics. That's all we focus on. No different than Walmart. When you go to you remember the day when you used to go get a receipt and the receipt used to be this big?
Mm-hmm.
Now the receipt is as long as your arm and leg. Why? Because there's a bunch of coupons in there. Read those coupons sometimes. Those coupons are going to be based upon what you have bought in the past because they're watching you. It's demographic and psychographic profiling. That's why when you walk into a Walmart, in certain areas and certain zip codes, the items change from shelf to shelf and the store changes because it's based upon demographics and psychographics. That is what buying rental property is all about. Prospect tenant demographic. Don't talk to me about building. Talk to me about prospect tenant demographics and psychographics. Once you can nail down and understand what the prospect tenant wants, then we go find an asset, a building, a house that fits that demographic profile. That's how we know value. That's how we know rental income, and we can project based on the income of that tenant, prospect tenant, based on the average household size in the COTA process will tell me the unit mix that I'm looking for the building. So these folks that are teaching folks to go out and look for property, that's asinine. That's a simple-minded approach. You have to understand first the COTA process. Then that process identifies the assets that you need to buy. Too many people buy the asset, and then now they find themselves in trouble because they can't rent it out. High occupancy rates, low cash flow, because they bought the building. You don't buy building, ain't paying rent. Building ain't helping you with that mortgage. Maybe, oh, Bryan, yes, it does. It appreciates. Yes, it appreciates over time. Tell that to the bank that wants their money on the 30th. Oh, can you wait till it appreciates? Appreciate my ass. You'll be sitting there in foreclosure.
Okay, so let's talk about that because that's a whole new perspective that I don't think I've heard before. I'm sure
of course
people.
not. I'm gonna get in some light. I look like the damn ghost on I look like the damn ghost on the haunted house at the I know you're in California, not in Orlando.
Disney.
So yeah, Disney. I look like the all right, let me jump on the let me get on the let me get on the Palatine. Let me ride with you. All right, let's talk. Let's grind.
All right.
Fire away.
So you tell me about the CIOTA process here, and that's to find out the income of the tenant, the average household size, basically the demographic, the psychographics, all these different aspects, right? So what does that really look like when it comes to your analysis? Are you looking at the specific those that analysis to that specific area and whether that matches with the property, or are you doing your analysis by looking at which parts of the country make up your ideal type of tenant, and then you're looking for properties in those areas?
My ideal type of tenant is everywhere there's stability in the marketplace, as far as the economy is concerned. So, outside of places, there's certain places that are tougher to certainly to operate. But the CIOTA process, let's just say I select like the Sun Belt. That's my targeted area. I look at first. I look at certain areas where I see the growth opportunities as far as the economics are concerned. That's the CIOTA process. So building permit activity helps me determine, economic stability, because I want to see that economic stability. So once I start looking into building permit activity and I start honing in our areas within the Sun Belt that I see are booming or have an opportunity that may not be booming, I'm just getting there right before the boom or even during a growth period. I can get in and find some distressed assets. Typically that will, you can find those within that C minus class. A lot of folks don't like to operate the Section 8 type properties, but you might need to cut your teeth on some affordable housing, especially now because affordable housing is huge. Most municipalities are going to want to work with you with tax credits and things of that nature. It's a whole different conversation. But, the CIOTA process is going to help you determine where and what asset classes that you need. So by studying the building permit activity, average household size, average household income, demographics, psychographics, demographics tells you who, psychographics tells you why. By studying these in areas that you kind of know, the Texas, Carolina, Florida, these by studying these areas and coming at it from this approach, you're going to be able to narrow in on the prospect tenant demographic. And then from there, the prospect tenant will tell you exactly what units you're looking for. Then you can identify the single family home. The only thing I would say are the multifamily home. The only thing I would say at this point is that if you're doing single family, this is, if you're taking notes, listen, I'll repeat this twice. If you're doing single family, you have to be Johnny on the spot with this. You can't half-ass this, because you have a break-even ratio. That means if, the unit sitting vacant, you're not making any income on it. So you need to make sure that you narrow in on this. If you have to understand this like I understand it, like I can be sitting here on a Peloton and riding the bike and breaking this down and going, you need to understand it like that if you're going to really scale and you want to, to be able to identify these projects to where you can back into them, and that where banks and other lenders will see it attractive where you can borrow against it and scale up in that way. But these are the things that you just want to make sure if you're doing with the single family approach is that you really understand this method, so you're not backing into anything where you're going to find yourself in trouble, a year now or 2 years from now.
All right, let's take a quick break from the podcast. If you're a real estate investor that's just getting started or struggling to find that next deal, I have just the thing that's going to help you get the breakthrough and the results you've been looking for. I have a free training that I want to share with you that shows you how to find deals, negotiate deals, and get paid. All you have to do is go over to deanrogers.com/training to gain access to this free training. Now let's get back to the podcast. Let's go. So what would you recommend? Someone to learn how to go through and evaluate this themselves? Or would you say to go to a third-party company that can do all that analysis for you?
No. No, don't, we don't. If I tell you, hey, listen, I want you to come into training camp next year, 165 and lean and 2%, body fat. Can you get somebody else to go into the gym for you?
Nope.
There it is. You can't half-ass success, man. You can't don't look for shortcuts. You can't say you want to be. The only certainty in life that you have is for you to know it. That old saying, God bless the child that's got his own. That's the only way you're gonna be able to pass it on to your children. You can't don't hand nothing to them. You see these guys out here buying all these buildings and these fancy cars, and you being sold on all this BS, man. Then it's like, oh yeah, my kids will have this portfolio, and then if something should happens and they get taken advantage of, they don't know shit about how to run it, how to operate it, because you shortcutted everything. You hired this, you hire a property manager, but you don't know shit about property management. You don't know, man. You don't take shorts. If you're going to do it, you do it. You understand it. You don't hire a third party. You do it. You learn it. No one can cheat you. No one can take that away from you. When I lost everything with this brain tumor, I lost everything. But guess what? They didn't. They destroyed the castle, but they didn't kill the carpenter. So I rebuilt. I was able to rebuild, brother, because I knew what I was doing. If I had to depend on everybody else to do it, I'd have been ass out. No, I'm not going to set you up to be. No, you're going to know the X's and O's. You're going to know how to change and audible at the line of scrimmage because you're going to know everybody's position. Or you ain't quarterbacking for me. You're going to know how to play the wide out. You're going to know the route. You're going to know what the tackler. You're going to know even what the defense is doing and what they do and how they operate. You're going to know everything because you're going to be able to audible out of any situation, and you're going to find yourself in situations, and you're going to be able to make the right kind of call because you know where people need to be. You're not
Makes a lot of
dependent on
sense.
anybody.
Yeah. So what is the best way to start learning that kind of stuff?
There's so much out there. That's the problem. The internet is great, but Professor YouTube is awesome. But there's so much out there. You just have to you have to find something that resonates with you and where you are on your journey. And someone that you feel comfortable, that understands the X's and O's, that just doesn't give you the buy multifamily. Okay, that's great. Raise money. Okay. And then look at all these operators right now, Dean. You don't hear a lot about it, but you will. All these folks that get paid big money, $25,000 programs, a lot of them in trouble when the interest rates went up, and now they can't refi out because they leverage the hell out of these deals so they can give these 18 to 22% IRRs and all this. They use leverage as it's great. It works when it's working, but when the music stops and you can't find a seat and they can't operate, and now they're getting foreclosed on because they're not able to operate the property day to day. They left that out in the boot camp, right? They taught you how to evaluate markets, how to raise money, but they left. Oh, just hand it to a third party property manager. Yeah, ask them how that shit's working out for them right now.
Yeah,
It's
I've been
not.
hearing there's a lot of people that are going to get hurt right now, and it's
Brother,
coming soon.
it's we can do a whole nother show on just on that. So you have to get with people that actually understand. If I'm going to listen to somebody, I want to know one thing. When all hell breaks loose, I want to know that you can go and show up on Monday and lease the apartments. That you know how to manage. You can run it. If you are asking me for $250,000 on a project that you have, right? I want to know, Dean, that if all hell breaks loose, you can bring your ass out of that fancy office in that 3-piece suit and out of that Bentley, right? Or that private jet you flying around in, and show up on Monday and lease apartments, manage and operate that particular unit. Or don't come and ask me for a damn dime. Don't tell me you're giving it to third-party property management, second-party property management. You're going to manage the property manager, and you don't know how to manage the property. That's a bad formula. So you got to be careful. Those folks they're everywhere. They're going to teach you how to raise money. They're going to teach you all this. But if they don't know day-to-day operations, that's what you need to understand, day-to-day operations. There is no handing off to property management without you understanding property management yourself.
So your book, it goes through the price, buy it, rent it, profit. What are the different steps that it goes through in the book, and how do you break all the information down?
Takes you from the acquisition. So that's a good question. Great question. So when you're talking about this industry, you're talking about 5 phases, 5 key phases that you must master. 1, acquisition. 2, implementation. 3, stabilization. 4, growth. 5, exit strategy. The acquisition is all about the buying, the due diligence, the COTA process, right? That's where it begins. The implementation is implementing 2 types of systems, soft and hard systems. The hard systems are the procedures manuals that your property management team runs the property day to day, Monday through Sunday. The soft systems are the property management software that you choose, how to integrate those. The reporting system, the management plan that the management plan starts during the due diligence process. So a management plan will tell you how to run that property. You need to have that management plan on day one. This tells the property management team how you want the property ran, how it operates, how they report to you. Dashboard reports are usually coming on once a week, once a month, once a quarter, once a year. Once a week, you want your reports. You want your rent roll reports. You want your delinquency reports. You want your maintenance reports. You want your traffic reports. All of these reports, so you're able to look as the asset manager talking to the property management team. You want to think of it like offensive coordinator being up in the quarterback having the offensive coordinator in the ear. Asset manager is offensive coordinator. Property manager is quarterback actually doing the work. Asset managers saying, hey, listen, DB, he's cheating. They're pressing up. They're doing this. They're cover 2. They're Tampa, whatever. He's telling you, hey, listen, I think we can run this play or do this. Quarterback's like, okay, I see it. When you see safety cheat, you need to go over, okay, I see it. Or you need to audible out to a run. Okay, I see it. Then the quarterback executes it. That's kind of how it works with property management at this level, at any level. That should be done correctly. If you hire a third-party property manager, I'm handing a playbook to them called a management plan. This is how I want the property run. Based on the COTA information, that strategic evaluation of target area, that handles the acquisition, and then we implement those systems during the implementation phase. And then stabilization, that is something that occurs when I'm getting the occupancy up, I'm putting in the tenant base that I want, I'm converting the property over, I'm doing whatever value add project that I'm doing for that particular property. That is what happens during the implementation phase. And then stabilization phase. And honestly, there's no such thing as stabilized property. No property is ever stabilized. You're just one maintenance disaster away from the whole shit falling apart on you. So you're always balancing. That's why it's important having these reports. That's why it's important keeping your finger on the pulse of what's going on with the property, even if it's single family. So if you're listening and you're saying, yeah, I'll do single family. Well, guess what? More so to you need to pay attention than the multi. The multi guy can make mistakes. He's got tons of units. He can hide dead bodies in all day long. Mistakes after mistakes. You can hide 300 units. You can hide a lot of mistakes. 40 units. You can hide a lot of mistakes. You can't hide mistakes in a single family home. It's a break-even ratio. So you have to have these systems in place when you develop your portfolio. So that would be one thing that I do with you. Let's look at your portfolio and let's systemize it. Let's make sure it's efficient. I want it efficient. I don't want it just, I got tenants in all of them. That's great. That's not what I mean by efficiency. And then growth is just growing the NOI. And then the exit strategy is rinse and repeat. Then you should do it again. You either refi, pull the capital out, buy another, sell that one, buy another. It's rinse and repeat. You just keep rinsing and repeating, and you keep leveling up.
So when it comes to the actual property and stabilizing it, are you evaluating and looking at it always as a value add? Is there ever a point in time where you look at it at the current rents, the current condition, and want to take over that asset in that condition and that shape, in the current rents, or is it always a value add situation?
No, there's opportunities where you can step in and see. And that's another good question. Because value add doesn't necessarily mean changing light fixtures, new roofs, and new landscaping. Value add can mean changing the tenant base. So I might come in and not see anything wrong with the way you remodel the property, but I might see a hell of a lot wrong with the way you operate the property. Your systems might be lacking. Your reporting might be lacking. Your tenants might be running the property versus you managing the property. The property might be managing you. And so that is an opportunity. For me, there's always that opportunity. I don't care where you put me. You can put me in any situation, any apartment building. I'm always going to find a way to be more efficient. So there's always a value add play for me, whether it be system, wise, physical, like what you were thinking,
Mm-hmm.
or tenant base, there's always something that I can do to add value. It doesn't always, Dean, have to be the physical, like what you were thinking, new roofs, new
Right.
windows, new appliances. No, sir, that's just the beginning. That's just one aspect of what we do and how you should do it. There's all types of value add to the systems, to the tenant base, to the, to the management team, all of those things. Because you can always be improving. It's always improving the overall efficiency of the property. You're in sports, you've lived it. Your coaches are never satisfied. Run it again. Oh, we did
Yeah.
that good. Run it again, right? How many times did you hear that? Run it again until you can run it in your sleep or to its right. How many times have you heard that? Oh
Yeah.
man, we just ran that we just scored. Run it again. And that's why you're never satisfied because you ain't stress test. You might think you're stressed. You're stress test for practice, but 2 minutes left to go in the AFC championship, right? That's a different type of stress now you're under. Because we ran it 15 to 20 times over and over again, now you're really stress test because you can handle this particular type of pressure. You know what I mean? It's like this you can handle this economic change in the climate because you're stress test. That's why this is it's no different than sports. It's no different, man. This approach to your business and your rental property business, no different, brother. You got to run it from top down and down up operation. You got to run a Bill Belichick type of operation. You have to run a San Antonio Spurs type of operation from top to bottom, bottom to top.
Makes sense. So at what point did you go from developing the book, right? Having it as a manual, getting it published. How did it end up at the U.S. Library of Congress? How did that all happen? That sounds
That's
kind of
funny.
crazy.
So they send you a letter just saying, you get inducted. Don't ask me how you get inducted. They see your manuscript or your book as a vital piece that needs to be saved in American history, and they see it as that type of asset, and they vote you in, and you then they send you a letter. I mean, I looked at the letter, but I thought it came with a check or something. But when it didn't come with a check, I was like, I threw it away. I never gave it much thought. Then somebody went on vacation to U.S. Library of Congress, one of my friends, and took a picture of it in the U.S. Library of Congress. And I do have to say, at that time, it hit me, to be coming from where I came from, and special education. I graduated with a special diploma, barely graduating high school. To think of what people said about me going through high school and riding the short bus to school and all the keys and the jokes and the laughing at Bryan. It's like to be able to see your book in the U.S. Library of Congress. It's like, okay, it was a moment that touched me to be able to see that. And that's something that my kids will be able to see, knowing all of my challenges that I had and knowing that I'm not the brightest and, never was, graduated the top of my class or even graduated college or even went to state and college or stuck. To know that dad has a book in the U.S., can't walk in any bookstore in the country or even globally and not see me in the real estate section. And let's be honest, ain't too many people look like me in any section of the business section in the real estate, right? It's, you find a lot of self autobiographies on athletes that look like me. You might go to the comedian section, you'll find a ton, but you're not going to go to the business section. So, to do what I did, to be a minority, to do what I did, it wasn't easy, but it just goes to show your audience that anything's possible. So don't tell me about, your circumstances or your situation, and that's not even getting involved with when I was getting into we're really getting traction with the book, getting hit with a brain tumor.
Yeah.
So, you can't talk to me about devastating circumstances or shortcomings and, oh, hey, I used to be homeless and all that. I'm like, man, I respect those stories, but, for me, it's like, you don't know what a grind is. You don't know adversity when you got one foot in the grave and the other on a banana peel. then you can talk to me about adversity, and having to rebuild, and then coming back and then seeing how the landscape has changed with the internet. Now everybody's a guru of multifamily. Do your homework, man. Look me up, Google, and go back 2009. There was nobody talking about apartments. When I first published that book, brother, look at who was talking about this. And now look who's talking about it. Look who's actually done it. And when I say done it, I don't mean buy. This is good. I'm gonna stop my bite right with this. I'm gonna hit the brakes on this. What I mean, I don't mean buying property, Dean. We're all so what's the word? Mesmerized.
Mesmerized. Yep.
Mesmerized by the guy buying the property, standing out in front of the property and all that. Dean, it don't take a damn thing to buy a property, bro. It takes money. It doesn't take, you don't have to be a genius to buy it. Operating it, building the correct systems behind it, that's the genius in it all. And so, stepping back into the industries, everybody was standing out in front of an apartment building going, hey, look, I'm a guru. I can teach you how to do this, right? But no one was talking about, but I can teach you how to operate. I can teach you how to build the right type of infrastructure to allow you to be successful to manage and operate the property, the systems running the property. You didn't see a lot of that. But, that's what I had to face when I stepped back into this industry, is that it was just overwhelming, all the white noise that was out there about multifamily. It just totally changed the landscape.
Good point. Yeah. I'm sure there's a lot of people that buy and have no idea how to operate, and it just kind of starts to fall apart.
Oh, you're gonna watch. You'll see. They what? Wall Street Journal did the article on the guy in Texas that went to those boot camps. He named a lot of the boot camps. I won't name them here, but went to a lot of these boot camps, raised a lot of money, and then the government had to come in. The local government had to come in and help with shutting the guy down because there were so many complaints, and he was running it into the ground. You're going to see that. That's rampant. My guy just did a whole training course on it from M&T Bank. The multifamily lenders did a whole forecasting on it and talking about all of the lot of these projects that the banks are having to take back. That this is going to be something that they have to address in 2024. So absolutely, it's going to be widespread.
I'm going to be Googling that thing in Texas, see what's happening.
Yeah, Wall Street Journal apartments foreclosure. Absolutely. I got a whole article. I did a whole blog on it because I wanted people to understand. So what I did was I reversed it. And then I said, this is what he should have did. This is how you create a management plan. This is how you avoid the mistakes that he had. It was an Indian fella.
Okay. You're going to have to
you
text
see it?
me. I think I see
it's
it.
Wall Street Journal, Wall Street Journal apartments.
Some guy from Houston?
Yep.
Okay. I'll be looking this up.
Long old article. Yeah, he's just the beginning. Hey, listen, it's you're in the wholesale business, or you're in that. It's good, man. The guy that understands how to wholesale apartment buildings, how to do the guy that understands how to do it slipped my mind. What's the word? Important word. Receivership. The guys that know how to do receiverships, man, they're gonna be making a killing, brother. They're gonna be making the banks. They're gonna be looking to seize assets, and they're gonna look for receivers, which are property managers that come in on the bank's behalf and take over the property. Man, and then the smart receivers are like, okay, and then they negotiate directly with the bank. We'll be a receivership, but let me, but then they try to negotiate. They'll come in and say, hey, listen, the guy, how many months was he behind? 6 months. Okay, let's re-amortize it. Let me buy the property. Let me take over. You can see we're running it. Can we re-amortize, put those months on the back end, and just all kind of, you do some Pace Morby stuff, and right. Get that creative financing. I've never met the dude, but I enjoy listening to a creative mind like him. But that's where a lot of that will benefit. What he's teaching will benefit a lot of people to be creative and go in and start dealing with a lot of these banks that are going to want these assets off their books, but they're going to want to trust that they get in bed this time with someone that understands how to operate the property. Mm. That's typically, and they're leaning on you because you're already the receiver during receivership. So they already know property management.
Right. Well, it sounds like you're going to have a valuable skill set here in the very near future. Maybe can help
Hey,
out a
brother,
lot of people.
I'm in the U.S. Library of Congress, which means the government thinks I've always been valuable. It doesn't matter the market, man. The
Yep.
knowledge that I'm giving you right now, it's transferable, man. It has no bearing on where we are in the market. It's always valuable information. It's always it's the fundamentals. It's the fundamentals, brother. The fundamentals don't ever go out of style, Dean.
This is true. This is true. Well, dude, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on, Bryan. Again, amazing story. I just love how you were able to go so deep and specialize to where it's just obvious and clear why you're the expert here. There's a lot for me to learn. This is an area, an asset class that I've been interested in, but you've definitely schooled me that there's a lot to learn. So gotta pick up the book, guys. If you're looking to learn more, how to get the right fundamentals behind multifamily investing, you got to get the book, Buy It, Rent It, Profit. You can go to the website, right? Buy It, Rent It, Profit. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
and it's not just I don't just this is not just for multifamily. This is single family guys. So
Okay.
I'm this is don't leave our single family guys because it's like I said I care not care more about I cater to I I'm concerned more about them than I am with anything because the guy that has a bunch of apartments, he can make mistakes. But my single family people have to run lean. And so I'm more concerned about them. But at Buy It Rent and Profit, if you go to BRPEDU, stands for Buy It Rent and Profit Education, BRPEDU.com, I have when you pick up the book because you help keep my kids in private school. I appreciate it. But at the end of the day, man, I have $50,000 worth of business systems, documents, forms, contracts, you name it, on the platform. You can manage your property on the platform. You can analyze deals on the platform, single family, multifamily, retail, industrial, strip malls. You can analyze deals, forget spreadsheets. You can analyze deals right on this platform without having headaches of spreadsheets. You can print the reports, the cash flow reports. You can manage your property here in the next 3 weeks. The 12 weeks, the property management software will be integrated in the platform. You can network, you can deal make. So my goal is to get you in 2024, and it's like $59 a month. And if they come from Dean, I'll get a coupon where it's only $9.99 a month,
Ooh, let's go.
and you can get all of it. And if you don't, and you still hesitant, there's $50,000 of free training, free resources. My brothers and sisters at Prime Corporate Services, they do trainings every month. We have those free trainings inside the platform. My brothers and sisters at myhousedeals.com, they provide training. We have tons of legal training. Our attorneys are doing trainings. So we have a ton of free trainings in there as well. So even if you don't even want to part ways with $9.99 right now, then just go in, put your email in, and you'll have access to all those forms, all those ebooks, everything that I talked about. I have ebooks and I have training manuals. And what is going to happen, Dean, is I set you on a 12-week path. I give you 12 weeks and I start you. If you tell the platform that you're a beginner, it's going to start you with a 12-week program. You say I'm experienced, it's going to start you with an experienced 12-week program. If you say I'm a licensed real estate professional, it'll start you with a 12-week program for licensed real estate professionals. But it's a customized program that's going to give you customized procedures, manuals, customized workbooks and training materials that are going to bring you along your journey. Custom. And that's free for just giving your email. And you'll be able to access the platform and go into a lot of areas and take the free and benefit from the free stuff that we have. But of course, to access the main, you got to part with $9.99. But brother, like I said, you're giving that to Starbucks every month, every week, some of y'all
Right.
every day. So if
Right.
you can't invest in yourself for $9.99, then there's just not much I can do for you anyway.
This is true. I'm looking at the site right now. It's got a ton of stuff in here. So that's a huge value add right there. Thanks for sharing that. Guys, again, Bryan Chavis. If you want to connect with them, you can find them online, social media, BRP
EDU.
edu.com or
Yeah.
buyitwithinitprofit.com. That's where I'm at right now. Thanks so much for being on, man. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Man, it's been an absolute pleasure. If they're listening right now, ask if you're coming from Dean, reach out. We'll get that pass, that affiliate link from Dean, and we'll $9.99. We'll make sure we take care of all of your listeners. I want to support you, Dean, in everything you do, man. I am a huge fan. You're a blessing to the industry, brother. You're a blessing to social media. The content you're providing and showing us an inside look with your family and kids and your lovely wife and kids, just everything you're doing, man. I can just tell that this is your passion and this is what you're called to do, and you have that anointing over you, man. And I greatly appreciate everything you've been bringing to the table, man. I'm very appreciative and very proud of you.
Amen, brother. Thanks for that. I appreciate it
Absolutely, man. It's facts. Facts,
very
brother.
much. Well, cool, man. All right, guys. Until next time, peace.
Peace.